Today I want to talk about the Harvard concept of principle-based negotiation. First I want to talk about negotiation, what's about it, what we do if we negotiate with other person, and what is the usual way of negotiation with other people. The second is I will introduce the Harvard concept as an alternative of the usual way and a good way to achieve the goals through leading proper negotiations. And my aim is to clarify what negotiating is and to encourage you to improve your negotiation skills. Let's start with the negotiation. In everyday life, if we want to reach our goals, we have to negotiate often with other people. Look at your job, look at the business, look at your family. In order to achieve your goals, you have to negotiate with your boss. You have to negotiate with the shopkeeper at the local grocery store. You have to negotiate with your wife and even with your kids. And the usual way of negotiation is you have the positions. You know your positions. You know the positions of the other part. You know the position and the arguments of your kid, your wife, your manager, your real estate agent. And you set up your position. You insist on your position. And even you make concessions. You're giving some positions up in order to reach a compromise as a result of the negotiation process. And there is either a hard way or a soft way to negotiate. The hard negotiator wants to win this game, to win the battle, to insist on his position, to want to prevail his positions over the other position, even taking the risk of splitting the relationship after the negotiation process. The soft negotiator wants a peaceful solution. He's making concessions, but with the risk of getting a bad taste, a compromise with a bad taste of something lost. The disadvantages of this traditional method of negotiating are obvious. It's often very time consuming to insist on the position, to make concessions, to insist, to howl, to quarrel, to fight with the other. It's also taking the risk of splitting relationship. While you win a short time, you win your position, you win a result, but the result is not lasting long. Even more conflicts are raising up. And this is where the Harvard concept comes into play. The Harvard concept was developed as an alternative way, a way between soft negotiating and hard negotiating, to achieve the best of both ways, to avoid the bargaining between the different positions. Now, the Harvard concept was founded in the late 1970s by the Harvard Law School. It was a study with watched at a negotiation process throughout the world. and asked successful professional negotiators. And the results of this study were a good negotiating is containing three things. One is a sustainable, long-lasting result of the negotiating process. The second is a reasonable amount of negotiating time in order to achieve these results. And the third party is a during the negotiation process and after the negotiation process, the relationship between the negotiating parties kept always intact. And they asked and looked at the job of professional, successful negotiators, like lawyers, managers, and diplomats. It was always the same three things. First of all, each time a win-win situation was created. No one was left behind in the negotiation process. A mutual benefit for both all negotiating parties was created. The second was results were long-lasting. No after negotiating, no failure, long-lasting sustainable results instead of short-time win situations. And the third was there's always the best alternative. There is always a best plan B. There's always alternative if in the case the negotiation is failing or the negotiation is successful, leads to a result, but how to avoid getting pulled over the barrel. And the Harvard concept tried to avoid these bargaining of the different concepts in 4 main points. First of all, keep the trouble separate from the person. For example, if you are on salary negotiations, keep separate the person's interest of reputation, loss of face, keeping the face, separate from the negotiation object, your salary, your profit, your benefit, your product, and sit together on the table to talk both parts as well, but keeping all them separate. The second is, it is always the interest that counts, not the position. Once you are in a negotiation situation, look after the interest behind the position. Make your interests clear, but look also at the interests of your partner and try, in order to achieve a good result, try to equalize the different interests. Then you get a good solution. Third, try to develop options. Be creative in options, in several options. Increase the level of options. Once you are in a complex negotiation process, you have to set up a contract, a complex contract. For example, between the homeowner and the contractor. Well, the contractor has to do his job, but he wants to get this money. But the homeowner, he wants to get the job done, but he wants to save money. And therefore, we have to sit there and make some brainstorming to look solution options oriented. How can the contractor achieve the perfect way in order to get this job done? How can the homeowner spend appropriate sum of money but achieve a good smart home? And the last is try to develop objective criteria. If you are in a negotiation process and you are not agreeing with how to achieve the goal, try to get some expertise. For example, if you're arguing with your insurance agent about how to compensate your car damage, try to get an external expert who can evaluate the damage in your car after commonly accepted criteria by both parties. Try to use his expertise, make clear who is paying the expert, make clear that the expert is accepted as well by you as well as at the insurance company. But those 4 things putting together, you can separate a person from the trouble. Look at the interests instead of the positions. Try to develop several options. Try to set up objective, commonly accepted criteria. This leads to long, sustainable results. This leads to results in a reasonable amount of time, and the fact that you are keeping your relationship with your employer, with your insurance agent, even if you're with your wife and kids. So the thing is, I want to clarify what is the negotiation process. How can we avoid to fall into the usual fighting, bargaining way? How can we improve better results through negotiating, getting easier to liaise? And this try to practice in your life, try to practice at your family, your job, and your business. Thank you very much.